So we've got a really power-packed panel right here early in the morning without giving you any chance to doze off. I'm going to start with a couple of questions. How many of you here are from a marketing company in brand management or marketing management? It's not bad. How many from a mainstream advertising or media agency? When I say mainstream, I mean non-digital. How many? One? Okay, I see one. That's good. And how many from any digital agency, publisher, intermediary? Right. So you're preaching to the converted. That's usually easier. Just a quick intro to the topic, and then we'll, sort of start the panel discussion with all the eminent panelists. Anybody can imagine, and you saw the two keynotes, watched the two keynotes in the morning, that we are going through what could be called a fairly disruptive phase of transitioning. Almost every 3 to 4 years, when you look back on the, a time 4 years ago, you can hardly recognize it. And I'm not going to tell you how different elements of this disruption, devices, platforms, technologies have changed and continuing to change the way we look at the world and look at ourselves. All that all of us know very well. There are three interesting characteristics of any large disruption like this. First of all, disruption makes a lot of people skeptical. And I think Shiv said in the morning how when television was disrupting the way of things in the mid-80s, some people became skeptical of television. And obviously, they have been proven wrong over time. The other thing disruption does is it creates hype. Right? It's usually, things are more hype than they really are. So you'll also look around yourself and see a lot of hype. Right? And the other good thing, the third thing, which is probably the best thing about disruption, that disruption creates hope. So people are more hopeful about what the future will bring than the way things are today. So three characteristics, skepticism, hype, and hope, really make a disruption.
Is this better? Yep, okay. So first of all, thank you all for attending our session.
Wow, so you got
adtech Delhi was my first adtech.
Decide who to hear.
And I fell in love with
shout
the
louder as well.
I think it is probably one of the few opportunities.
That's disruption, absolutely, right? Somebody did something, right? What happens usually in conferences like this, when we all sit and talk about many things, usually we have a debate under one roof. Debates quite often are, digital versus non-digital, mobile versus non-mobile, and so on and so forth. If you go to a newspaper conference, they will talk about newspaper versus television. You go to a television conference, you'll hear DTH versus terrestrial, and so on and so forth. So we're going to have some good debate here too, right? And the interesting thing about a debate is that even if there is no one clear answer, the debate creates thoughts in the mind that all of us carry through with ourselves. So if you think about the topic, it says integrated video planning. And if you think about it, all three are very, very heavy words. So I'm going to start with the middle. What I'm going to do is ask each of my panelists to very crisply and very clearly say what video to them means. That when we think of video planning, what is the form of video we should include in video planning?
Okay. What video is, I mean, I've been, before in the chat, I've been kind of chastised by you before. So when I came into this particular conference, I came in with the mind frame of online and digital. Therefore, the way I have described digital, or the way I have described video marketing or video is in the sense of, YouTube, Facebook, ViewClip. So, essentially web and mobile, okay. Since then, I've been forced to rethink, because when you're talking integrated, we must really think offline as well as online. So, yeah, I would imagine that any place where a consumer gets to consume any form of video, okay, that's the area that we're looking at. Right now, the single biggest video is essentially TV, okay, and the big debate ought to be that is it possible for integrating video, which is TV, which is huge vis-a-vis the a smaller group, which is online video. So I think this is the big debate.
Spoke about TV, web, mobile.
Right.
Any other thoughts come to mind? What should a planner, when thinking of video planning, which other forms of video we should think about?
So I think, you look at the video content, you look at television, you look at mobile, you look at the PC web or the desktop. IPTV will soon come in at some point of time, like what we were discussing earlier. But I think what's critical is for the planner to keep the audience in mind. How are you going to address these audiences using television, using mobile, and using your desktops? So I think that is the most crucial part. I mean, in a television, you're likely to be addressing or talking to a household. When you talk about a PC web, the target audience will probably respond differently, and a mobile is very different. Besides that, your attention spans are going to drop down as it comes down from television down to a mobile. As Meera was pointing out some time ago, that people can't obviously spend a lot of time watching a video ad for 30 seconds because they're paying for it on mobile, and nobody likes to watch or download content and pay for it.
I mean, we're looking from a consumer's perspective, and they consume across platforms. Anything that new comes up, they'll have this, they'll have the tablets, they'll have all the various things. So as a marketer, you then need to figure out your target, or planner. What's the target audience? Where do you find them? It's not in all the TV channels. It's not all the TV shows. You look at the pay TV versus the mass, terrestrial TV stations. And then, what's the audience there? What's your audience on mobile? What's your audience on tablets? What's your audience on things? And when do they consume them? We've seen studies where, in the evenings, like in Singapore and the US, tablets are consumed a lot more, right? As they're watching television, as they're doing that, they still have their tablets there. So, yeah. So tablets actually have a lot more usage in the evenings for a lot of people. Now, how do you get them, how do you put that into your plan when they're actually at home and doing stuff? Because that's when you really want to hit them with advertising, right? Depending on the product, of course.
Does cinema count as video?
Oh yes.
Particularly a good part of it is now getting digitized.
No, absolutely. But I tend to agree with Joe in terms of you could have cinema as a source of video, as a platform for video, but how people consume cinema is another point altogether. For example, they would, but I don't know whether I would want to bring in movie theaters into this discussion.
When the planner is thinking video, should he think movie theater?
No, I think he should be thinking more in terms of consumers' usage with his own personal or household device more than anything else. And not include public places such as that's my point of view. I may be corrected by my
It's
colleagues
considered
here.
out of home, right? It's considered
Mostly at home, at your disposal, when you want it, shut it off when you want, switch it on when you want, etc., which you can't do with cinema.
We've covered
everything?
yeah, almost everything.
What does LK question for you? What does integrated mean?
Integrated, when we think in terms of planning, integrated means that I should be able, as a marketer, to uniquely identify a single person's exposure to video, or to any medium for that matter, across platforms. So it is not integrated till I can actually unduplicate all the exposures, so that I know for certain that how many times and how many people do I need to reach in order to get the effectiveness going for advertising.
Yeah, I mean, so across all the platforms. So again, it goes back to an audience. You have a product, you're targeting a certain group of audience. What show do you advertise on TV? What channel? What show? What YouTube channel? What mobile space do you buy to target to reach that audience? Right? It's still going to be audience buying. That's what marketers are doing. So integrated planning means trying to find the audience wherever they are.
So I'm a media planner. You want to add to that?
Yeah, so I think when you talk about integrated and you say I want to run a campaign, I'm going to use television, I'm going to run a 30-second on television, and then I'm going to target these users on mobile and on desktops as well. I think when you talk about integrated, you'll have to think about saying, how are you going to push these content? Are you going to run the same 30-second across all these devices? Are you going to say, you know what, I'm going to let television be the main 30-second or the main messaging and branding effort, and then I will look at a different metric across both the other platforms. And so, you know what, I look at responses across PC, and I will look at probably a different kind of a metric on mobile.
So the decision on whether to push the same messaging
Correct.
and what kind of response to expect is part of the integrated
I would think so, yes.
decision. Great.
I would tend to agree with that. In fact, that's something that I want to push for across all media, not just video, for example. But yeah, in the case of video, because the consumer is seeking out a certain kind of content, which is video content, there doesn't need to be an assumption that the same messaging and the same exposure, same method has to be adopted for every single platform or medium. So a role must be assigned. So what is the role of television? Is it going to be larger awareness generation and image generation? What is the role of mobile videos? Is it going to be action-oriented, click-to-call kind of thing? What is the role of YouTube on desktop? Is it going to be a top-up when it comes to television vis-a-vis YouTube? So yeah, a clear role must be assigned, a true integrated plan. We'll assign a role for each platform, each medium.
Yeah, more to what LK is saying, right? The most successful sort of integrated campaigns are ones where the content is different. So you've got your video, your TV to push the main brand message, but also push them towards the digital channel where activation is so much easier. Whether mobile is great for activation, and obviously the web as well, where there's a feedback loop on what it is, and you can create different content, smaller video clips that carries the story on. And those are the ones that actually are properly integrated.
This is very interesting. So you're saying that, let's say 20 years ago, I'm a media planner, and I show a TV commercial, and the response I expected was the guy will go after a few days and hopefully inquire about and buy my product. Today, I can push the person, the individual, to engage with some other forms of messaging immediately, e.g., looking up something or downloading more videos about my product, shorter, longer, and so on and so forth. That's very interesting observation. Meera, you clearly represent a very different video experience compared to what many of us have grown up with. My question to you is that, what is the role of video, right, beyond television? So TV, let's just set aside. So we know what, 5 people watch together and they maybe talk to each other and on mute and so on and so forth. What do you think is the role of video beyond television?
So obviously, I think when we started the whole video concept and when television came into picture, single ad on a prime time for a channel like NBC could get 30% of the audience. But as we move now, that fragmentation has happened in media today, and you just cannot concentrate on one screen. So leaving television aside, people have now moved to web and definitely consuming a lot of content on mobile video. And when something like that happens, what becomes critical is that the content flow across the screens that we're talking about is seamless. And the content delivery platform, which enables access and varied consumer points for accessing that content, also becomes seamless. So what weaves all of this is obviously a great technology, which so that the experience of the consumer is amazing, and obviously the platform which delivers that makes it very important.
So LK, going back to the marketer's challenge. So marketer has a certain budget, and obviously you're trying to achieve a certain goal. Right now, the goal could be different for different programs, different projects, different campaigns, different marketers. But when you look at, let's say, a combination of classical television with, let's say, YouTube, or let's say other video sharing sites such as, a ViewClip, right, or others. In your mind, what is the role of that other non-TV non-television video to your objective?
Okay, I'll give you an example, interesting example, real life example. Some months ago, it was told to me that YouTube should not be seen as a video platform online, but it should be viewed by marketers as a TV channel. because people are spending time watching videos, seeking videos, and watching full programs, and whether it is TV programs or other entertainment avenues, sports, etc., etc. So it was touted as the 10th biggest TV channel in the country, not just a video platform online. So I said, very good. That means that the same audiences that I'm targeting through conventional TV, they are the ones who are watching YouTube videos as well. So here's an opportunity for me to make things more efficient, and let me chop off the long tail of my TV advertising and kind of consolidate that into YouTube, and then I will figure out what kind of efficiencies I get. Because
so what does it do? Does it deliver more efficient plan to you?
well, unfortunately not, because I don't know actually. Unfortunately not, because
good answer.
because
I don't know.
when I asked the agency finally, they said, listen, how much should I now? So I'm spending, let's say, 50 lakhs on the long tail, okay, on television. So I said, if I take this 50 lakh and I put that on YouTube, can you tell me what will I get for it? And when I mean what will I get for it, I don't want to ask you that it will get you so many exposures and so many impressions, because I am going to be measuring TV plan based on reach and frequency lost when I take that out. Okay, maybe not reach, but definitely frequency lost, therefore GRP lost. So can you tell me how can I reclaim that, and can you tell me how to measure it? And unfortunately, there is no single way of authoritative way of telling me that you lose 70 GRPs there and you'll gain 80 GRPs here. Okay, and that's how a marketer thinks, that I'm going to lose something by reclassifying my money. Therefore, I need to recoup that.
Interesting topic, and Meera has a point to make, and then I'll come to Joe.
I mean, I do agree with your point when you say that there is a comparison required between television and your spends on YouTube. But my only question to you here is that why is it that we are comparing the two mediums?
Okay. The way the medium is sold to the advertiser determines a lot about how the advertiser is going to use it. Okay. Unfortunately, nobody has yet educated me about the new medium, saying that you can't look at YouTube having the same role to play in your advertising plan as television does. The way it was sold to me by Google, and it was sold to me even by the agency, was that it's a TV channel. So I'm going to look at it as a TV channel. Okay? If it was positioned to me and it was shown to me with examples that this is how you can use YouTube, and it goes on top of your existing TV plan, and you can improve activation with it, you can improve engagement with it, rather than just get your regular television kind of GRP with it, then I wouldn't go in that direction. My first thought this is inertia. My first thought is that, okay, it's a TV channel. So let me get some kind of efficiency out of it by going into...
I'm going to ask a question, but I'm going to ask you to give the answer later, so you have time to think. That why must somebody come and educate you is a question that we'll ask separately. But coming back to Joe, do you think you want to add some dilemma that a marketer goes through, that what exactly does adding, let's say, online video, right, do to my plan? So if we accept for a moment that the primary role of television was to build reach, does adding online video, and right now I'm talking about PC, we only will talk to mobile separately as well, does it add to my television plan?
All right, so it goes back to brand marketing. Why do you do brand marketing? Okay, we're not talking performance here. We're not talking search and all that stuff, right? We're talking brand marketing. We're talking trying to, LK, with LG selling lots of different things offline. We're talking Coke, we're talking McDonald's, Pepsi, all that stuff, right? What's brand marketing? It is reach and frequency. It's number of times they see, how many people see your message, a number of times they see your message. That's marketing, branding 101, right? And digital, we've been talking the clicks, right? We don't talk about traditional brand metrics. And that's GRP is a derivation of reach and frequency, right? So when, that's how planning has been done for 50 years or so, right? And when you're coming to a brand marketer who's been doing this reach and frequency and a branding metric with online, unless you talk the same language, how do they decide how much to spend out of the bucket that they have for total marketing, right? So when someone comes to LK and says, hey, this is YouTube, and we can, so YouTube's top channel is T-Series, right? And that reaches 13.4 million people in India. Now, those people who are on there didn't watch T-Series on TV. right? Or most of them didn't. So therefore, that's what you can reach, and that's how you can make up that GRP that you've lost, right? And so when we talk in that language,
so
the money
let
flows.
let me use a very interesting. Let me step out of my moderator hat and wear a media planner hat. And if I were to tell you, LK, that with the same money, not a single paisa or rupee added, your effective reach of your television plan by allocating some to online video, including the YouTube and ViewClip and others, can increase by 8%. Will that be a safe enough and a compelling enough argument for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
as it happens, ladies and gentlemen, I think most of you know this. This is the truth. In market after market, and I have real examples which I can share with you offline, including in many agencies, it's not that this is being done by some geeky guy sitting in some academic institution. Last week, there was a report that the TiVo OS company and the Nielsen in the US did an actual live testing, 7% reach added at zero additional cost by allocating some little bit of your long tail, whatever the long tail is, onto online or digital
See,
video.
now I'd love this kind of conceptualization of reallocated planning. What I am looking for as an advertiser is to really quantify this for me, saying, when I ask the question, how much should I spend on this? I don't get a single one good answer, okay? I start off with, I mean, we actually started, the first time we did YouTube planning, we started off by saying, okay, boss, I can put about 1 crore, okay? YouTube guys were thrilled. And because the brand manager, he just got up and said, I can put 1 crore, and the YouTube guy said, yeah, man, this sounded like good. And then I asked the question, how much is it too much? Is it too little? Is it just right? And nobody is able to answer that. And then I had to do my own Excel sheets. I sat down with my media guy. I made the Excel sheet. And I said, okay, this gives me this gives me this. Can we just work on a 35 million number of people, et cetera, et cetera? And finally, we came down to, okay, boss, 50 lakhs is a good number. Okay. Eventually, we ended up, the first time that we started doing it, we ended up with a 25 lakh plan. And nobody, blinked an eyelid on this one. Not Google, not my agency, nobody. So they were as happy with 1 crore spending on YouTube as they were with 25 lakhs. So I'm still left wondering, what is the right amount?
Kiran, does this remind you of a regular decision-making, sort of a method, not just for video, but digital in general?
Yeah, I think, when you talk about integrated, or when you talk about integrating digital with a non-digital format, you have to look at understanding what are you expecting out of running your campaign. That's very important. I'll give you an example of one campaign that we ran a few years ago. This was for an OTA. The idea was to get traffic onto online, and they wanted to show a holiday destination. And they said, we will run a 90-seconder. We were representing Sony Pictures Crackle at that time. They said, we'll run a 90-seconder talking all about this destination. And from there, we'll try and see how many people come onto my site and see how many people actually land up in that destination, which was a brilliant way of doing it. And so they actually ran a TVC for about 20 seconds and drove traffic. They also ran some online banners, etc. Drove the traffic to the video, and from the video, they said, you want to travel out here, you go to my website and buy your holiday or whatever. I think the approach was fantastic for the simple reason that they used each of this media very effectively, and they knew what to expect out of it. So they didn't try to say, YouTube is Crackle is going to be a television channel, and the expectations were very different.
Now, this is the kind of discussion I'd love, okay? Because
you're saying you need to have.
You need to have.
Right.
This is the kind of discussion I would love if from the start, okay, the discussion is along these lines, okay. Yeah, when you start your plan, then you say, okay, how are my consumers consuming this media? What possible roles could this fulfill? Okay, and then define the objectives for this. So this role is the role of mobile advertising is to help me get ABCD metrics. Okay, it's not going to be the same as television. Therefore, I will define the metrics in a different way, and then I will measure it in a. It is obviously part of the integrated plan.
You're asking. I think the interesting question I'm hearing from you is that does the media planner or advertising planner in India have a video mindset to include
an integrated video
mindset?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Meera, question for you, right? You know, you were in the bang in the middle of this video, revolution, so to say. How big is it in India from a consumption point of view? Not so much from advertising. That's not worth discussing, I guess, right? How big is it really?
So currently, if you look at, I can give you numbers globally. India alone, if you look at video views, if you look at Vuclip alone, we do some 120 million odd video views in a month's time. And
that's 12 crore?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's what we do, and we cover almost 14 million active users on a monthly basis on the site. So that's the amount of video views that's already happening, and the revolution that we've been talking about on mobile, on smartphones, it's actually happening on feature phones. A lot of traffic that you see today, which is consuming a lot of video, is actually happening on feature phones largely, although there is a trend and there is a future which says that smartphones are going to lead the entire revolution of mobile. I think we're already there. We've described enough in terms of what the medium can deliver, and now is the time to go deliver value for a particular advertiser or an agency and tell them what the medium can deliver for them.
In your job, do you meet agencies?
A lot.
Do they get this when you tell them? Do they know these numbers? Do they get it?
So initially when we started, it was a little tougher, but now I think with all the data that we've given them and all the analytics which go to proving that the number does exist, I think most of them are pretty comfortable.
No, they know this data? They get it?
Yes, we gave them the data.
So how is LK so securely isolated? People have the information. Millions of viewers, billions of views.
Yes, we do get such information, yeah, which is views, etc. What I was talking about is, do we have the mindset of integrated planning, which operates firstly by assigning roles to various media and platforms, and then measuring them for that. This is where I find that I have to learn on my own. Fine, I can learn on my own. Maybe my brand manager may not learn on his own, right? Or the other guy, other CMO may just not have the time for this kind of thing. So the entire approach of the industry, including agencies, has to be to do some basic work on showing marketers how is the new world different from the old world in terms of planning, right? So we have done that. Conventional advertising, we have defined these things before. So when we say conventional planning, people have done integrated marketing communication. So they have a role for stores, they have a role for, but they don't have a role made yet for online or mobile, okay? High time we actually got together and taught each other of how this, nobody's written a book about it yet. Maybe somebody has, but we haven't all read it. We're still operating in the, a 10-year-old kind of philosophy. All I'm saying is, data exists. How to do this planning better, integrated planning? I don't think people have made enough effort of that. Now, so after this discussion, when I go back to my company, I'm going to actually insist on it, okay? This is the biggest outcome for me, that I'm going to tell my media guys and everyone, listen, I want an integrated video plan. Don't tell me about, you can chop off 5 TV channels and you can put in YouTube, because that's such a blah way of doing it, really.
The pivot point for the industry is going to be the agencies. So this is across Asia, right? In the US, it's different. The brands are driving a lot of the need for it. In Asia and India, the brands are relying on the agencies to do it. And the agencies don't work that way. They're not integrated, right? You've got traditional. So the clients go to traditional, and then, okay, we'll pull the digital guys in when we have a few % left, right? So it's not integrated, all right? The agencies themselves are not integrated. So their mindset, as you're saying, is not an integrated mindset in terms of trying to do, an integrated campaign for everybody. And to get the traditional agency side to move to non-traditional digital, whatever, is hard because there's more work involved in planning a digital campaign versus traditional, TV, print, I've done it, what have I done, tick, 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 done. Now, on the other side, they're going to look what channels, how long do I buy, which, do I buy YouTube, do I buy search, it just gets pretty complicated.
In fact, I tried to I'm usually accused of being too harsh on the industry or on the vendor side and the agency side.
Today you're kind.
I was trying to be very diplomatic, but yeah, the agency has to be the hub center of this knowledge and applications creation.
We don't have agency rep here. So
Right, we don't have it, but
here on the
somehow,
panel,
I mean, let's
we
send
pick
the
up.
word out that,
Right.
listen, as long as you're going to be divided in silos, in
Right.
agencies, okay,
Right.
I don't think clients are going to be, the messiahs of this integrated planning approach.
Kiran, how do you change the mindset? So it's very interesting to say that the agency guys need to have a video mindset. And I guess when you say agency guys, it means both the classical advertising companies as well as full-fledged digital agencies and so on. How do you change the mindset? Mindset just changes overnight. You flip the switch.
No, I think our own experience has been like what Joe was mentioning, has been sort of better with when we are dealing with clients directly. So they understand integrated. They're willing to try out. Yeah, and it's easier to sort of explain to them and speak to them and get it done.
Do you meet him every day?
So yeah, so look, he's already bought it. He's saying he's going to go back and talk to his brand manager now.
He told you amount as well. He's told you how much.
He's sold already. Yeah, exactly.
Just make a point here. In terms of the mindset change that we're talking about, mindset change is not going to happen because of any numbers that I come and give. Never. That's not going to happen because I reach 14 million and therefore he should come put his money. The mindset change that we're actually looking at will come from a lot of other information that I can give him in terms of what people are doing on the device that they're consuming the mobile on. Where do they like to spend their time? What is the kind of video that they are consuming? What are the trends which are coming on video? Numbers are one part of it, which is just a particular thing. But there is a whole lot of other information that needs to flow between brand managers and the agencies. And once that sort of starts flowing seamlessly between the entire ecosystem, things in terms of planning, your advertising spends across mediums would actually go up.
So you touched on trends. Very interesting. From a consumption side, right? Everybody knows it's very easy to say that any form of video, particularly in India, must be dominated by entertainment content, right? What else, what other trends are you seeing that is driving or is from the consumption side, outside of entertainment?
So entertainment obviously leads the entire trend. The other things that are really evident is a lot of seasonal content that you get. If there is something which is more like news which comes on board, if there is sports, which is again very seasonal, so we see a huge surge in the video views over a period of time. But content in terms of entertainment definitely leads it. And in terms of what we've seen as a latest trend, and you'll be amazed to see this, one of the top 10 videos on the Global Video Insights report that ViewClip actually publishes, it was actually an ad video that we ran. So I think a lot of that also would enable seamless flow of content across, where your content itself is so compelling that the consumer goes and starts viewing that content.
Is there a time of day dimension to video consumption outside of television, in your experience?
I think it'll be pretty much throughout the day. There is no specific, almost flat, but I think it peaks towards the end of the day.
Joe spoke about late night consumption of tablet
so
plus
the tablets. So what we see is in the morning when people wake up, they reach for their mobiles. So on the way to work in the morning, they do the mobiles, and then the PC traffic picks up as they get to work. And then the PC traffic tails off in the evening, and then tablet traffic picks up. The mobile sort of peaks in the morning and sort of is steady the whole time.
This, I guess, is for markets which have got a reasonably significant tablet penetration.
Yeah, we've seen that across.
How about India?
India.
Is the data too small?
We haven't issued a report for that yet. We're working on it right now in terms of that consumption of tablets and everything. We see that 6% of traffic is consumed on mobiles and tablets.
So one is the device, the other one is the time of day. I think your time of day, and also duplicity in the sense simultaneous use of multiple devices, which you spoke about later in the day. So are there data available like that for India?
That chart we are working on.
All right, because one of the things I'm thinking, LK, to your point earlier, that a regular media planner gets regular data from syndicated sources week after week for a certain medium. Maybe that creates the confidence of going and recommending something versus data on other non-television video, which does not maybe come with reasonable regularity. Do you think lack of measurement sometimes comes in the way of thinking integrated?
It's not lack of measurement. It's the integrated part that's hard, right?
Lack of measurement not an issue.
I can tell you the GRP of an ad on video, on online video, right?
India?
In India.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if for a client that asks, I can do the whole reach frequency and all that kind of stuff. That's not, but the issue is then when you do integrated, you know, what we're talking about is attribution modeling.
Right.
That same person that saw an ad on TV also sees it on the tablet, also sees it on the web, right? How do you make sure that it's one person and account for duplication across video platforms?
So you're saying if the mind were to think video, somebody will reach out to someone like you on measurement rather than worrying about absence of measurement and not thinking video.
Yeah, I mean, from the other, from TV, you've got TAM, right? For digital, you have us.
Right.
Now, there's no, the holy grail is what's in research we call single source panel, right? Where we have that, you know, say 50,000 consumers that we track everything they do, right? From TV to web to mobile and everything. That's never going to happen.
You know
It's
what,
minority report.
single source or absence of single source has not stopped from other media such as outdoor and newspapers or magazines to grow as well. So the question is, why would absence of single source stop a media planner from thinking video across platforms?
Well, they're not thinking it for the reasons I said before, just because they're not properly integrated. So there's estimations, there's tools, and a lot of agencies have an estimation algorithms on how to calculate that overlap.
Right.
And that's one of the big challenges for us in the US right now itself. It's not just here, it's in the US, it's everywhere in the world. How do you estimate the overlap, multi-platform consumption?
Great. We got 8 minutes left. We're going to take a few questions. But before we end, the last word must go to the marketer, the guy with the money. So think a bit. How will you change the behavior of your own team? I'm not saying only you, but in a brand team and other people under your control in the company, as well as your agency partners tomorrow. What questions will you ask them?
Like I said earlier, the single biggest takeout that I'm getting from here is that I will have to foster this whole approach within the company that when you're talking integrated, okay, then you really talk about integrated not in terms of switching monies from here to here, but defining how consumers consume these media and where do they do it, how do they do it, and then define the roles for each of these media, and then talk about you know, what kind of money allocations. It's it's easy to say here, okay, but it's going to be very, very tough to get each and every mug, and we got something like 20 managers, you know, across the system. So to convince them and so on will be a tough task. But this is the journey I want our company to go on. So this is my step on this. Second thing, I'm going to be meeting a lot more vendors. Okay.
Lot more?
Vendors.
Right.
Okay. I've realized over time that if you depend on your agency, and this is not really a damnation of the agency or anything, but this happens. If you're going to depend on your agency alone to give you all this information, timely information, regular learning, etc., then you're really being quite foolish. And there's always this thing going on behind the scenes about who's got his hands in which guy's pockets, and you know, the ecosystem works like this. Let's be very frank, right? So there'll be many people who will tell you on the side that, you know, your agency doesn't want me to meet you. Okay, they'll meet me in such a forum and say, I'm scared of your agency, man. I can't afford to, you know, get on the wrong side of them. So I will have to take this initiative. And for example, last month we did.
Is that something you'll encourage your team to do as well?
Yeah, last month, I mean, for example, we held an LG Digital Day and we managed it ourselves. The agency did not help us do it, and I'm quite happy to do it. Okay, so I tell my digital team, you go and look out, you find people to speak, and so on. I'm happy to do that because it at least gives me my own perspective. Okay,
good.
That's
so
what I would like.
Sorry, I'm going to break my rule and ask the last question to Kiran because it's something I forgot. So you sort of sit in somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Right? You're not a classical agency.
You're not an agency at all.
You're not an agency at all.
Yeah.
You're not a pure play video,
Yeah.
company, but you do have a significant stake in the digital space.
Yeah.
In the last, let's say, few months or quarters or years, have you been noticing increasing curiosity about video from marketers and advertisers coming to you?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people want to use online, video online as well, and they come to us and say, how do I, what should be my expectations be when I come online? This comes from both sides. I mean, this is not just the brand guys your Pepsis or Cokes, but it also comes from your performance guys, who want instant results saying, I want so much traffic on my website, I want so many sales happening from my online website or whatever. And the key question is, I'm running a TVC. How do I do I run the same TVC on the desktop, or should I sort of cut it down? What should the messaging be? How do I talk to the audience online? That is the key question there. And that's really what, I think is the way I think integrated will flow across both all